This perp back with another video, and I just got done watching episode 5 of Pantheon, and man, this episode was really fucking dope, man. Was really dope. A lot to break down. I'm gonna try to do my best, man, because they give you a lot of information, a lot of different reveals, but we're gonna get right into the breakdown of this episode. Let me know how you guys feel about this in the comments below. How y'all feeling about the story so far, because there's so much happening and we only got a few more episodes until the finale, and I'm so intrigued on seeing how it all is going to come together at the end and where it's going to go from there. So with Prasad's company completely in a disarray, just the whole company has completely crumbled to the point where people's cell phones ain't working. The competition's kind of being knocked out, but Julius has more issues with just what's going on with David and Lori and whatnot, because things are definitely starting to get heated with them as well. And, you know, they're trying to figure out what's going on. But before they can do that, David starts to kind of glitch out and he just disappears. And they back up his memory, or a copy of just whatever he is. And so they can kind of just get onto some other new servers, because now everything's kind of shut down. You got Cody's whole server thing that's being bought out by Logarithm and stuff, so they're cracking down on it very quickly, and they don't have much time, because the more stuff that gets outputted by Lori, the more her mind starts to kind of decay, and she's gonna start glitching, sort of like what David's doing right now. So the stuff is starting to happen to him. Carrie is, you know, determined to get to Caspian, try to help him out. So yeah, man, there's just a lot of moving pieces. It almost feels like a finale in a way, or just at least a penultimate episode. But this is one of my favorite parts here, is where Caspian finally like just confronts Hannah about like what's really going on, like who are you? And we find out that she's actually an actress named Rachel, and she was kind of paid like $1 million. She was promised like $5 million over some time or something like that. And she signed the NDA and all that stuff, and starts freaking out and just like, yeah, that's pretty crazy. And she kind of gives the sob story saying like, oh, I'm doing all this because my mom has cancer. I wouldn't really believe that, because it's like, you're an actor, so I wouldn't even really trust you. But Caspian lets her know like, look, I don't care about nothing about that. I just want you to work with me to figure out what's going on with Renee. I'm trying to get as much information as I can as possible on what's going on right now. So then Maddie and Cody and Ellen are finally able to kind of set up shop somewhere else so they can get back online and reconnect with David. And they're trying to figure out exactly how can we get into Logarithm, how can we get some more information about them. And then Maddie mentions Norway, and nobody else knows about this besides her. And this is where things start to get really interesting, man, once they start to kind of dig a little bit deeper in Logarithm and just what they're really up to. Speaking of figuring out what people are up to, Caspian finds out exactly who Renee really is as a person, and how determined she is to stay on mission and not let this all kind of blow up. But Caspian already knows, and this makes Renee panic. She gets this gun and she starts to talk to Caspian about like, yo, let's get out of here, let's just kind of take some time out. But then, you know, this is where things start to get suspicious for Caspian, and he starts to kind of like, yo, what is she really up to, even though he's just kind of just playing along with the whole thing. Meanwhile, you have David, Cody, Maddie, all them finally figuring out a way to kind of get into the system of Logarithm through Julius's phone. They like even tamper with his phone to make his battery die. So, you know, it was really interesting how they kind of tinkered with his phone, and they were able to kind of get all these project files. And what they come up with is one file of your boy that got kidnapped in the first episode of Newt. And they come to realize that he's also another kind of upload that went kind of rogue. But I'm not too sure exactly what they're going to do with this character. It's still kind of a mystery, and maybe we'll see more as we get closer towards the end. I like that he kind of reached out to his mom to make sure, like, to check in. So now we get to probably some of my favorite moments of this episode, where you have Renee and Caspian on this kind of road trip, or going to this location, but they have to kind of pretty much stop to get like gas and whatnot. But what really freaks Caspian out is just like why Renee decides to kind of pack his own bags and even bring a gun, which leads him to pretty much take the car and leave Renee behind. And Renee kind of pretty much freaks out, and she's pretty pissed at this point. But Caspian has to kind of get to the bottom of things. Going back to this conversation we have though between Cody and Ellen, it was really interesting because this is always what I talk about with technology and how fast it's growing. They come to the realization that there must be way more people out here, and this is only going to be widespread as technology ends up accelerating over time. So I always find those types of conversations interesting, especially where we're going. This show is very meta, and just a lot of people are going to look at it as like sci-fi, but there's a lot of hints to saying like, yeah, this is definitely going to happen in our near future and whatnot. When I'm old, you're going to have kids that are going to be like uploaded and just be in VR, and they talk about all this metaverse stuff. So this is just fascinating stuff to me, and why I really enjoy watching this show. But going back to the episode, finally, as they start to do some more digging into these project files, I'm talking about Lori and David, they've come across Caspian, and this is where things get really interesting, and where we get some huge reveals about Caspian. And I also think that Peter is trying to kind of go on this kind of redemption, because he kind of smiled that he's like kind of glad that all this stuff with Logarithm is starting to kind of blow up in their face. So finally we get to the final parts of this episode, and Caspian goes home, only to be met by his father, quote unquote, that he thinks is his father. And he pretty much confronts him really aggressively, but Carrie's like, look, I want to tell you the truth, that your whole life is a lie, literally. And he comes out and tells him pretty much that you're a clone of Stephen Holstrom, which was really crazy. That was a really insane kind of thing to drop on Caspian, and just the way that it was really delivered, where Carrie's breaking down like every little moment of his life was copied, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what he was talking about. Like, his whole life was literally a lie. And that's just really fascinating to me, that Caspian is a clone, and they're talking about these uploads and stuff like that. It's really interesting, really dope, man. So with all this information, they start to leave out the house, but Renee, is right on time, and Caspian's like, yo, pretty much wants nothing to do with Renee. Renee tries to keep on the act, but Carrie's like, no, he knows. Renee pops him, and he's pretty much bleeding out. I don't know if he's gonna survive, but it seems like everything is riding on Caspian. He's kind of like the biggest character in this whole entire series thus far. So yeah, man, this was an incredible episode. Finding out that Caspian is a clone of Stephen Holstrom, that is a huge deal. And why that Logarithm is so aggressively trying to get rid of David and Lori, because they're the ones that kind of can mess things up for them. I don't know how old boy's gonna kind of fit into things, so it's getting really dope, man. I want to know y'all thoughts on this episode. Let me know in the comments below. Till next time, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.